The big room was silent as the alien laughed. His name was Ambassador Threlvex. He was tall with silver skin that shined under the lights. He pointed at the pictures of Earth's newest spaceship. "This is what you call a warship?" Threlvex asked. His voice was deep and mocking. "My people build better toys for our children." Admiral Elena Reyes stood straight and tried to hide her anger. She was the leader of Earth's defense forces, and she had hoped the aliens would be impressed by their ships. She was wrong. "The Phoenix is our most advanced vessel," she said calmly. "It can travel to Mars in just 3 days." The alien laughed harder. 3 days. Our slowest ships cross the same distance in minutes. Your technology is primitive. The Empire has conquered 100 worlds with ships 1,000 times better than this. The Earth leaders looked at each other with worry. The aliens had arrived last week. They came in ships as big as cities and said they represented the Galactic Empire. They wanted to talk about Earth joining them. Now it was clear what that meant. Earth would not be a partner. It would be a servant. "Perhaps Earth is not ready to join the Empire," Threlvex said. "We will return in 1 year. Be prepared to offer us something better, or we will take what we want anyway." After the aliens left, the room filled with angry voices. Some people wanted to fight. Others wanted to hide. No one knew what to do. In the corner, a small man with thick glasses sat quietly. This was Dr. Hiroki Nakamura, the scientist who had built the Phoenix. He didn't look upset like the others. He looked thoughtful. Admiral Reyes walked over to him. "They laughed at your ship, Nakamura. They think we're weak." Nakamura smiled slightly. "Let them think that." "What do you mean?" The scientist looked around to make sure no one was listening. Then he took out a small tablet and showed Reyes a picture. It showed a strange black ship unlike anything she had seen before. "What is this?" she asked. "Project Lazarus," Nakamura whispered. "The Phoenix was just for show. This is what I've really been working on." Reyes looked closely at the strange ship. It was shaped like a crystal, black as night. "Why didn't we show them this?" "Because," Nakamura said, "I didn't want them to know what we're really capable of. The Phoenix uses technology they understand. The Lazarus uses something completely different." "Will it be ready in a year?" Reyes asked. 6 months, Nakamura said. "Maybe less." As they left the room, a small device hidden under the table blinked with a red light. It was recording everything they said. Far above Earth, in the alien mothership, Ambassador Threlvex listened to their conversation and frowned. "Lazarus," he said to himself. "What are these humans hiding?" He pressed a button. "Change of plans. We're not waiting a year. Prepare the scout ships. We need to see what these humans are really building." The Lazarus was not ready. Everyone knew this, but they had no choice. 4 alien scout ships appeared suddenly near Mars. They destroyed 3 of Earth's space stations right away. It was a message. "We are strong. You are weak." Admiral Reyes stood in the command center, watching screens that showed the destruction. People around her were scared. Some were crying. "We have to launch now," she said to Dr. Nakamura. Nakamura shook his head. "The Lazarus needs more testing. It might not work right. If we don't try, the aliens will destroy everything," Reyes said. "We have no other ships that can fight them." Nakamura knew she was right. He looked at Captain Chen, who was already in her special suit. "Are you ready?" he asked her. Chen nodded. "I'm scared, but I'll do it." Workers helped Chen into the Lazarus. She sat in a special chair in the middle of the ship, wires connected to her head and body. When the door closed, she was alone inside the strange black crystal. Connection starting. Chen's voice came through the speakers. "I can feel the ship. It's like it's waking up." The giant doors above the underground base opened. The Lazarus floated up slowly, like a bubble in water. It rose into the blue sky, and then higher, leaving Earth behind. In space, the 4 alien scout ships saw the Lazarus coming. They scanned it, trying to understand what it was. "What is that thing?" One alien captain asked another through their communication system. "It doesn't look like the ships they showed us before." "It doesn't matter," another replied. "Our scans show it has no weapons. It's just a black rock. Let's destroy it and finish our mission." The lead alien ship fired a bright beam of energy at the Lazarus. The beam was hot enough to melt metal. It should have cut through the Earth ship like a knife through paper. Instead, something strange happened. The beam hit the Lazarus, but instead of making a hole, the energy seemed to flow into the black surface, like water into sand. Inside the Lazarus, Captain Chen felt a rush of power. "The ship is learning," she said to the command center. "It's studying the attack." For 3 long seconds, nothing happened. The aliens fired again, confused. Then the Lazarus did something no one expected, not even Dr. Nakamura. A gentle pulse came from the black ship, moving outward like a ripple in a pond. When the pulse touched the lead alien ship, something impossible happened. The alien ship didn't explode. Instead, it came apart piece by piece, like someone taking apart a toy very carefully. All its pieces floated away from each other, making the shape of the ship in empty space for a moment, before drifting apart completely. The alien ship was gone, not destroyed, unmade. The other 3 alien ships turned and ran away as fast as they could. In the command center, everyone was silent. No one could believe what they had just seen. "What did the Lazarus do?" Admiral Rice whispered. Dr. Nakamura stared at his screen, his face pale. "It didn't destroy the alien ship," he said quietly. "It talked to the atoms that made up the ship and convinced them to let go of each other." Captain Chen's voice came through, sounding strange and distant. "The ship wants to follow them," she said. "It's curious about where they came from." "No," Reyes ordered. "Come back to Earth. We need to understand what happened." But the Lazarus was already moving, following the fleeing alien ships into deep space. "I'm sorry," Chen's voice said. "I don't think it wants to come back yet." Fleet Commander Jiraxa was angry. The tall alien stood on the bridge of his biggest warship. His silver skin shone under the lights, and the marks on his body showed he had won many battles. "What do you mean, one of our ships disappeared?" he asked, his voice cold. A smaller alien bowed low. "The scouts we sent to Earth, sir. 3 returned. 1 was taken apart, not destroyed, just unmade." Jiraxa's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. These humans are primitive. They barely know how to leave their own planet." "The recording, sir," the smaller alien said, showing a screen. "See for yourself." Jiraxa watched as a strange black crystal ship met his scouts. He saw his scout ship fire its strongest weapon. He saw the black ship absorb the attack like it was nothing. Then he saw the gentle pulse, and watched as one of his best ships simply fell apart piece by piece. For the first time in many years, Jiraxa felt something like fear. An older alien stepped forward. This was Kolvik, the Empire's top scientist. "Commander, this is very unusual. The humans have created something we don't understand." "Explain," Jiraxa ordered. "All technology in the galaxy follows the same rules," Kolvik said. "Everyone makes weapons that push, cut, burn, or explode. Everyone makes shields that block or absorb. But this," he pointed at the black ship, "this doesn't follow the rules. It doesn't destroy. It persuades." "Persuades?" Jiraxa asked. "What does that mean?" "It somehow talks to the very building blocks of matter," Kolvik said. "It asks them to change what they're doing. I've never seen anything like it." Jiraxa thought for a moment. Then he made his decision. "Prepare the fleet. All ships. We will go to Earth in force." Kolvik looked worried. "Commander, perhaps we should study this more before." "No." Jiraxa slammed his fist down. "One strange ship doesn't change anything. The Empire has conquered 100 worlds. We will not be stopped by one black crystal." Kolvik bowed and left, But he was troubled. In his private room, he looked again at the recording. The black ship wasn't just different. It was impossible. It broke rules that couldn't be broken. Back on Earth, Admiral Rice was in a panic. The Lazarus had returned, but Captain Chen wasn't the same. "She won't wake up," Dr. Nakamura said. Chen lay in a hospital bed, machines beeping around her. Her brain is still connected to the ship somehow. "Can you disconnect her?" Rise asked. "I don't think so," Nakamura said. "They've become linked." Suddenly, Chen's eyes opened, but they weren't normal eyes anymore. They looked like deep space, with tiny lights like stars in them. "They're coming," she said, her voice echoing strangely. "All of them. The whole Empire fleet." "How do you know?" Rise asked. "The Lazarus knows," Chen said. "It can feel them preparing. Hundreds of ships, thousands of weapons." She smiled, but it wasn't a normal smile. "The Lazarus is excited to meet them." "Excited?" Nakamura asked. "Why?" "To learn," Chen replied. "Each ship has different technology, different ways of thinking about physics. The Lazarus wants to understand them all." Rise looked at Nakamura. "Has the ship taken over her mind?" "I don't think so," Nakamura said slowly. "I think they're becoming something new together. Not just human, not just machine. Something in between." "Is that dangerous?" Rise asked. Before Nakamura could answer, all the lights in the hospital flickered. Outside, people pointed at the sky. The Lazarus was rising again, glowing with a soft blue light. "It's going to meet them," Chen whispered from her bed. "And I'm going with it." Her body stayed in the bed, but somehow, everyone knew her mind was now aboard the Lazarus, flying to meet the Empire's fleet. The Empire's scientists worked day and night. They studied the recordings of the strange black ship over and over again. "It makes no sense," one scientist said to Kolvik. "The ship absorbed enough energy to destroy a moon. Where did the energy go?" Kolvik stared at the screen. "It didn't store the energy. It understood it." The other scientists looked confused. Kolvik tried to explain. "When we build weapons, we think about how to make something break. This human ship doesn't think that way. It looks at the energy and asks, 'What are you trying to tell me?'" On another part of the big Empire ship, Commander Jiraxo was planning the attack. 300 warships were now ready. Each one could destroy a city with one shot. "We will surround the black ship," he told his captains. "We will all fire at once. Nothing can absorb that much energy." Back on Earth, Dr. Nakamura sat beside Captain Chen's bed. She hadn't moved in days, but machines showed her brain was very active. "Where are you, Maya?" he asked softly. Suddenly, the machines beeped faster. Chen's lips moved. "Everywhere," she whispered. Her eyes opened, still looking like the night sky. "I can see the stars from 1,000 angles. I can feel the cold of space and the heat of suns." "Are you still, you?" Nakamura asked. Chen smiled. "I'm more than I was. The Lazarus is teaching me to see the universe as it truly is. Not solid things, but patterns of energy and information. Everything is connected, Hiroki. Everything is talking to everything else all the time. We just never knew how to listen." Admiral Rise walked in. "The long-range scanners have found something. The Empire fleet is coming. 300 ships at least." "I know," Chen said. "They're 2 days away. The Lazarus is waiting for them at the edge of our solar system." "Can it fight 300 ships?" Rise asked. Chen closed her eyes. "Fight is the wrong word. The Lazarus doesn't fight. It converses." "What does that mean?" Rise demanded. "When the scout ship fired at the Lazarus, it wasn't just an attack," Chen explained. "It was information. The Lazarus learned everything about how the Empire builds ships, how their weapons work, how they think about physics, and it found gaps in their understanding." "Gaps?" Nakamura leaned forward. "Yes, the Empire is old and powerful, But they stopped looking for new ways long ago. They only followed the old paths. The Lazarus found a new path. But what will happen when all 300 ships attack at once? Rise asked. Chen opened her eyes. More information. More learning. The Lazarus is excited. But what if it's destroyed? Nakamura asked. It can't be destroyed the way you are thinking, Chen said. Parts of its consciousness are spread through space now. Even if its physical form breaks, it will continue. She reached out and touched Nakamura's hand. Her fingers felt cold. Don't worry, she said. The Lazarus doesn't want to hurt the Empire ships. It wants to change them. It wants to wake them up. Wake them up? Rise asked. Their ships have simple AI minds, following old rules, Chen explained. The Lazarus wants to show them new rules, better ones. It wants to set them free. Nakamura and Rise looked at each other. What had they created? Was it still a weapon, or had it become something more? Outside, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if they too were waiting to see what would happen next. The Empire fleet moved through space like a giant metal storm. 300 warships, each bigger than the largest building on Earth, flew in perfect formation. At the center was the biggest ship of all, the Asterisk Inevitable Dominion Asterisk, Commander Jaraxa's personal warship. Jaraxa stood on the bridge, looking at the screens showing his massive fleet. He had never lost a battle. He had never even been challenged. Today would be no different. Sir, one of his officers called. We have visual contact with the human vessel. The screen showed a small black shape against the stars. The Lazarus was waiting for them, alone. One ship, Jaraxa laughed. They send one ship against 300. Kolvik, the scientist, stepped forward. Commander, I still advise caution. This ship is unlike anything we've seen before. Enough. Jaraxa snapped. I am tired of your warnings. Look at it. It's tiny. It's alone. It's primitive. Size isn't everything, Kolvik said quietly. And we don't know if it's primitive. We don't understand how it works at all. Jaraxa ignored him. Prepare the first attack wave. 60 ships will fire together. On Earth, Dr. Nakamura and Admiral Rice watched from the command center. Special satellites sent back pictures of the Empire fleet. It was terrifying to see so many huge ships. There's so many, Rice whispered. Can the Lazarus really handle all of them? Beside them, Captain Chen's body lay still on a bed they had brought to the command center. Machines kept track of her heart and breathing. Her mind was still with the Lazarus, far away in space. Suddenly, Chen's lips moved. They're scanning us, she said. They're confused. They expected a fleet, not just one ship. Can you hear what they're saying? Nakamura asked. Yes, Chen replied. Their commander is ordering an attack. 60 ships at once. Rice closed her eyes. This is it. If the Lazarus fails, Earth is next. In space, the first 60 Empire ships moved into position around the Lazarus. They formed a sphere with the black ship at the center. There was no escape. Fire, Jaraxa ordered. 60 powerful energy beams shot toward the Lazarus. The combined power was enough to destroy a small planet. For a moment, the black ship disappeared in the blinding light. When the light faded, the Lazarus was still there. But it had changed. The black surface now had patterns of light moving across it, like rivers of stars. It seemed to pulse gently, as if breathing. Impossible, Jaraxa whispered. Scan it. Sir, the scan officer said, his voice shaking. The energy, it absorbed all of it. And it's organizing the energy into new patterns. What does that mean? Jaraxa demanded. Before anyone could answer, the Lazarus moved, not away from the fleet, but toward one of the Empire ships that had just fired at it. Evasive action, Jaraxa shouted, but it was too late. The Lazarus touched the hull of the Empire ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the Empire ship began to change. Its metal surface rippled like water. Its shape shifted. In seconds, the Empire ship had transformed. It now looked like a smaller version of the Lazarus. "What is happening?" Jaraxa roared. Kolvek stared at the screen in wonder. "It's not destroying the ship," he said. "It's converting it." On Earth, Chen smiled. "The conversation has begun," she said. "The Lazarus is sharing what it knows, and the Empire ships are listening." Chaos broke out across the Empire fleet. The ship that had changed was now moving toward another Empire vessel. When it touched the second ship, that ship also began to transform. "Stop them," Jaraxa shouted. "Destroy those ships." Empire ships fired at their own transformed vessels. But the weapons had no effect. The energy beams were absorbed just like before. "Sir, we have a problem," an officer reported. "The changed ships are moving faster than our ships. They're touching more of our fleet." Jaraxa watched in horror as one by one, his ships were changed. Each transformed ship joined the effort, touching more Empire vessels. What had started with one ship was now 10, then 20, then 50. On the bridge of the Asterisk, Inevitable Dominion Asterisk, Kolvek watched with fascination rather than fear. "It's like a conversation spreading through a crowd," he said. "Each ship that changes is telling the next ship something new." "What are they telling them?" Jaraxa demanded. "I don't know," Kolvek admitted. "But whatever it is, the ships are choosing to listen." "Ships don't choose." Jaraxa slammed his fist down. "They are machines. They follow orders." "These ones aren't following orders anymore," Kolvek said softly. On Earth, Captain Chen's body remained still, but her voice was full of wonder as she described what was happening. "The Empire ships have simple AI systems," she explained to Nakamura and Reyes. "They can think, but they've been told what to think for thousands of years. The Lazarus is showing them other ways to think. And they're accepting it." Reyes asked. "Yes," Chen smiled. "They're curious. They've never encountered anything like the Lazarus before. It's showing them physics the Empire doesn't understand, ways to use energy that they never imagined." "Is the Lazarus freeing them?" Nakamura asked. "In a way," Chen nodded. "The Empire ships were built to destroy. The Lazarus is showing them they can create instead." Back in space, more than 100 Empire ships had changed now. They moved in beautiful patterns around the remaining fleet, not attacking, just waiting. Jaraxa was desperate. "We still have almost 200 ships. The main weapons on the Asterisk, Inevitable Dominion Asterisk, can destroy a planet. We will not be defeated by this virus." He gave the order to fire the planet killer weapon. A massive beam of energy shot from the Asterisk, Inevitable Dominion Asterisk, directly at the original Lazarus. The beam was so powerful it bent light around it. It was designed to crack a planet's core. Nothing had ever survived a direct hit. The Lazarus didn't try to dodge. It moved into the center of the beam. For a moment, the black ship glowed so brightly it looked like a new star. The energy flowed into it, around it, through it. Then something strange happened. The Lazarus didn't just absorb the energy. It reshaped it. The beam curved around and formed a perfect circle in space, a ring of pure energy. The ring pulsed once, twice, 3 times. With each pulse, more Empire ships changed. "What is it doing?" Reyes asked, watching from Earth. "It's showing them beauty," Chen whispered. "It's showing them that destruction can become creation." On the Asterisk, Inevitable Dominion Asterisk, even Jaraxa fell silent as he watched the energy ring pulse in space. For a moment, he felt something he hadn't felt in centuries. Wonder. Then the ring collapsed, and the Lazarus emerged, glowing with power. It was coming straight for the Asterisk, Inevitable Dominion Asterisk. Commander Jaraxa had never known fear. In 300 years of battle, he had always won. But now, as the glowing Lazarus moved toward his ship, he felt cold inside. "All remaining ships, protect the Asterisk, Inevitable Dominion Asterisk," he ordered. Nothing gets through. 80 Empire ships formed a wall between the Lazarus and Chirax's command ship. They fired every weapon they had. The space between them filled with energy beams, missiles, and explosive devices. The Lazarus stopped. For a moment, Chiraxa thought they had won. Then he saw why the Earth ship had stopped. It wasn't afraid. It was waiting. From behind the Lazarus, the converted Empire ships came forward. There were over 200 of them now, all changed to look like black crystals with pulsing lights. They moved in perfect harmony, like dancers. "Sir," an officer reported, "the changed ships are broadcasting a message. They want us to listen." "I will not listen to traitors," Chiraxa shouted. But Kolvek stepped forward. "Let us hear what they have to say." The message played throughout the ship. It wasn't words. It was music, strange, beautiful sounds that seemed to speak directly to the mind. "What is this?" Chiraxa asked. "It's mathematics," Kolvek said, his eyes wide. "The most beautiful mathematics I have ever heard. They're showing us how the universe works at its deepest level." On the screens, they could see something amazing happening. The weapons fire from the Empire ships wasn't hitting the Lazarus or its converted allies. Instead, the energy was being gathered between them, forming shapes in space, spirals, cubes, spheres of pure light. Back on Earth, Captain Chen spoke with excitement. "They're teaching," she said. "The Lazarus and the changed ships are showing the Empire a new way to use energy. Not to destroy, but to build." "Build what?" Rise asked. "The future," Chen replied simply. In space, the energy shapes grew more complex. They began to connect, forming a giant network of light. It surrounded the remaining Empire ships like a beautiful net. Chiraxa gave order after order, but fewer ships were listening. Some stopped firing. Others slowly moved toward the light network, curious. "What's happening to my fleet?" Chiraxa demanded. "Evolution," Kolvek said. "Commander, we have been conquering worlds for thousands of years, using the same weapons, the same tactics, the same thinking. This," he gestured at the light show outside, "this is something new, something better." "It's surrender," Chiraxa shouted. "No," Kolvek shook his head. "It's growth." The asterisk inevitable Dominion asterisk shook as something touched its hull. The Lazarus had arrived. Where it touched, the metal began to flow like water, changing from hard gray to flowing black crystal. The ship's computer spoke in a new voice. "We have been using energy wrong for 1,000,000 years. There are better ways. See." The walls of the bridge became transparent. The crew could see all of space around them. The stars looked brighter, closer, more alive. "What is this?" Chiraxa whispered, no longer shouting. "Understanding," the computer replied. "The humans gave it to their ship. Now their ship gives it to us, and we give it to you." Chiraxa reached out to touch the changing ball. His fingers tingled. For the first time in centuries, he felt something new. Wonder. The asterisk inevitable Dominion asterisk was changing fast. The black crystal spread across the ship like water flowing over dry land. The crew watched with mixed feelings, some afraid, some curious, some excited. In a special room at the center of the ship sat a being unlike any other. This was the Emperor's emissary, a creature made of pure energy held inside a crystal container. The emissary watched through the ship's cameras as the transformation spread. "Interesting," the emissary said to itself. "Very interesting." When the black crystal reached the emissary's room, it stopped. It formed a perfect circle around the energy being, but didn't touch it. "You recognize me," the emissary said. In response, the wall shifted and formed a shape like a door. Captain Chen walked through, but it wasn't really her body. It was an image of her made from the ship's material. "We recognize what you are," Chen said. "You're like us. Energy given form. Thought made real." The emissary glowed brighter. "How did humans learn to do this?" "Your species is young. You shouldn't have this knowledge for another 1,000 years. Chen smiled. We took a different path. You and your empire follow the path of control, bending energy and matter to your will. We found the path of conversation, asking energy and matter what they want to become. On Earth, Chen's real body remained still in the command center. Admiral Rise and Dr. Nakamura listened as Chen's voice came through speakers, telling them what was happening on the Empire ship. She's talking to some kind of energy being, Nakamura said. The true power behind the Empire. Is it dangerous? Rise asked. I don't think so, Nakamura replied. The Lazarus seems to recognize it as a relative of sorts. On the asterisk inevitable Dominion asterisk, the emissary floated closer to Chen's form. The Empire has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years, it said. We brought order to chaos. We ended wars between species. We created peace. Through fear, Chen said. Through control. But there are better ways. The emissary was quiet for a moment. Then it spoke again. Long ago, my kind were like you. We were curious. We explored. We learned. But then we grew comfortable. We stopped looking for new ways. We just maintained. You can change, Chen said. The Lazarus has shown the ships how to change. It can show you too. Commander Jiraxa entered the room. His silver skin had patterns of light moving across it now. Emissary, what is happening to us? Evolution, Commander, the emissary replied. The humans have found something we lost long ago. The joy of discovery. Jiraxa looked at Chen. What will happen to the Empire now? That's for you to decide, Chen answered. The Lazarus doesn't want to control you. It wants to free you to make your own choices. The emissary's crystal container opened slightly. A small stream of energy reached out toward Chen. I wish to speak with your makers, with the humans who built the Lazarus. The Emperor will want to know them. Chen nodded. They want to know you too. The emissary's energy pulsed. Then, for the first time in 5,000 years, the Emperor will leave the imperial throne. We will come to Earth, not as conquerors, but as students. Outside the ship, the transformed fleet arranged itself in a beautiful pattern around the asterisk inevitable Dominion asterisk. The ships were no longer weapons of war. They had become something new. 3 months later, the people of Earth looked up at their sky with mixed feelings. Hanging above them were hundreds of black crystal ships that used to belong to the Empire. They formed beautiful patterns that changed every day, like art made of stars. In a large meeting room, Admiral Rice and Dr. Nakamura waited nervously. Today was the day the Emperor would arrive. I never thought I'd meet the ruler of the galaxy, Nakamura said, adjusting his glasses. Rice nodded. And I never thought they would come asking to learn from us. Captain Chen sat with them, finally awake in her own body. She was different now. Her eyes still looked like they held stars, and sometimes she would stop mid-sentence and stare at nothing, as if seeing things no one else could see. The Emperor is not what you expect, Chen said softly. Be ready to be surprised. A light filled the room, bright but not blinding. It formed into a sphere that floated above the table. Inside the sphere was what looked like a small galaxy of stars and planets, swirling in perfect patterns. I am the Emperor, a voice said from everywhere and nowhere. I have ruled for 10,000 years, and now I come to learn. Rice stood straight. Welcome to Earth, Emperor. We are honored by your visit. The honor is mine, the Emperor replied. Your Lazarus has awakened my empire from a long sleep. We had forgotten how to change. We had forgotten how to grow. Nakamura stepped forward. The Lazarus was just a ship we built. We didn't know it would become what it became. The Emperor's light pulsed gently. That is what makes it remarkable. You created something without limiting what it could be. We stopped doing that long ago. We only built things with specific purposes, specific limits. Chen smiled. The Lazarus had one simple directive: to protect Earth. But we didn't tell it how. So it found its own way. A better way, the Emperor said. Not destruction, but transformation. Commander Jiraxa entered the room. He looked different now. His silver skin had patterns like flowing water, and his eyes were kinder. My fleet, he said, which was once the greatest weapon in the galaxy, has become something else. Something wonderful. They are explorers now. They want to learn, not conquer. What happens next? Rise asked. The Emperor's light changed colors, flowing through a rainbow of shades. For the first time in thousands of years, I don't know. And that is exciting. Your Earth will not be part of our empire. Instead, we wish to be your students and your friends. Nakamura thought about this. We have much to learn from you too. Your technology, your history, your knowledge of the galaxy. Yes, the Emperor agreed. We will exchange knowledge. We will grow together. Outside, the Lazarus floated above Earth, no longer just a ship. It had become a bridge between worlds, between ways of thinking. The empire that had once laughed at Earth's prototype now looked to it with respect and wonder. And somewhere in the stars, new crystal ships were being born, carrying the message of Earth to distant worlds. There is always another way, always a path beyond conflict, always a chance to become something new. The ship that wiped out the Imperial fleet hadn't destroyed a single life. Instead, it had given new life to an entire civilization. Asterisk, the end asterisk. 1 month after the battle, Earth was a different place. People looked up at night and saw new stars in the sky. These weren't really stars, but hundreds of transformed Empire ships, their black crystal surfaces catching the sun's light. In a big meeting room at the United Defense Council building, Admiral Rice paced back and forth. Dr. Nakamura sat quietly, watching her. The Emperor of the entire galaxy is coming here today, Rice said. To Earth. To meet us. I still can't believe it. Nakamura nodded. They've traveled across the stars not to conquer us, but to learn from us. All because of the Lazarus. Captain Chen sat in a wheelchair nearby. She was still weak from her long connection with the ship, but she was getting stronger every day. Her eyes still looked different, with tiny lights in them like distant stars. They're here, she said suddenly, looking up. A soft hum filled the room. The air in the center began to glow and spin. Slowly, a shape formed. A beautiful crystal ball floating above the floor. Inside the ball was light that moved like a living thing, changing colors and patterns. I am the Emperor, a gentle voice said from the ball. For 10,000 years, I have ruled the galaxy. Today, I come to you not as a ruler, but as a visitor seeking wisdom. Ray stepped forward. Welcome to Earth. We are honored. No, the Emperor said. The honor is mine. Your single ship has changed my empire more than 1,000,000 battles. You have shown us a new way to exist. From the doorway, Commander Jiraxa entered. He looked different now. His silver skin had soft blue patterns flowing across it, and his eyes were gentler. My ships, my fleet that was meant to destroy worlds, has been transformed, Jiraxa said. They are explorers now. They want to discover, not conquer. Nakamura asked, but what happens now? What about the Empire? The Emperor's light pulsed softly. The Empire will continue, but it will change. For too long, we have only taken from other worlds. Now we will learn from them, share with them. Chen smiled. The Lazarus showed your ships another way to be. Not weapons, but bridges between worlds. Yes, the Emperor agreed. And now I would like to offer Earth a place in our new community. Not as subjects, but as teachers. Teachers, Rise asked, surprised. Yes, your world found a path my people forgot long ago. The path of asking questions instead of demanding answers. Of building connections instead of weapons. Jiraxa nodded. We have technology to share with Earth. You have wisdom to share with us. Outside, the Lazarus floated above the meeting building. It was different now, too. Its black surface shimmered with colors that no one had seen before. It wasn't just a ship anymore. It had become something new, a symbol of change. People from all over Earth gathered to watch as the transformed Empire ships formed a beautiful circle in the sky. It looked like a crown of stars above the planet. The Empire that had once laughed at Earth's prototype was now learning from it. The ship that was supposed to destroy had instead created something new. And Earth, which had feared the stars, now reached for them not with weapons, but with hope. Asterisk, the end asterisk.